Hey y'all, this is Alex from the Rim Review. The Rim Review is a page that offers in-depth player analysis and gives nuance to the way you watch basketball. In this series, we're going to be looking over every single prospect in the upcoming NBA draft. Some of which you may already know, however, there are going to be numerous hidden gems we explore throughout the coming month. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at Cam Christie from Minnesota. When looking at Christie's game offensively, there are a couple of things that stand out. The first of which is his shooting, where he shoots 39.5% from beyond the arc. Next, he does a really good job coming off of DHOs, whether that's coming off and shooting a three or turning it into a straight line drive. His final strength is just straight line drives in general, / being a decent guy when it comes to scoring for himself in the pick and roll. While these are definitely two more bland strengths that are added to his game, it's nice to know that he's at least able to do a little bit outside of shooting. There are some really big weaknesses with Cam Christie's game on the offensive end. The first of which is simply he settles. When he comes off screens, he frequently doesn't go all of the way and he just doesn't make the best decisions. Next, his closeout decision making is very poor and he only shoots 36.4% on spot up twos. This means he really struggles to understand how to blow by guys or when to try to blow by guys in closeout situations. And the number one weakness in his game on the offensive game is his physicality. Christie is not a very strong player, he doesn't always play off of two, and he just doesn't have the best build, which is why he averages only 34% on layups. While he's extremely long, the lack of muscle really hurts him, and he's going to need to put on a few pounds to be a successful pro offensively. Now let's get into the film and watch Cam Christie offensively in transition. On this possession right here, Christie's going to sprint ahead, and as you see, he runs to space and knocks down a three. While there's nothing special there, I like seeing a quick release and him pushing to score. On this possession, he's going to call for a drag ball screen, which is when a screen occurs in transition. He takes the screen here, and then has a nice, crafty finish, once again using his length to score. Unfortunately for Christie, more often than not, he's extremely soft in transition. Right here, he rips through and actually tries to play off of 2 feet, which is good. However, he's just not there, and the vertical defense gets a nice block. I'd like Christie to be a little more under control before attempting that shot. On this possession, Christie has a relatively loose handle as he's pushing the ball right here, and his head is down, he's not looking, and he dribbles right into the defender. I would like, honestly, for Christie, when he's right here, to maybe pass ahead to this teammate, or maybe even throw it in front. But if you're going to score, you need to be able to protect the basketball, and he does not do that here. Now let's move on and watch Cam Christie in the pick and roll. On this possession, Cam Christie is going to call for a ball screen, and it's actually what is going to be known as a double drag. So the first screen occurs right here, and number 3 on Minnesota has the option to either set this screen, or what he chooses to do is loop under, and the reason he does that is to occupy this guy right here. And because of this, number 20 is no longer in a possession to help off Cam Christie. Christie goes downhill and has a nice finish. What I like to see here from Christie is the fact that he initiates contact with Robbie Avila and gets a nice bucket. On this possession, once again, Cam Christie is going to call for a ball screen. This is known as a ram action, and the reason it's a ram action is because this guard right here sets a screen for this man to come up. This makes it a little harder for this guy, and he's trailing a little bit more than you would normally see when the actual screen is set. Cam Christie takes advantage of this and gets downhill for a nice finish. Another thing that makes Cam Christie really beneficial in the pick and roll is his shooting. Right here, he's going to call for a ball screen. They're actually going to twist the screen, which means they change the direction. He still refuses the ball screen after the twist, because when they twist, number 4 thinks that the screen is coming this way, so he comes over here, and Christie says, okay, bet, I'm going to come in and have a nice 3. Really smart read. On this possession right here, Christie once again calls for a ball screen. He uses it and floats in to a really pretty looking jump shot. On this possession, we're once again going to see Cam Christie refuse and look for a shot. Right here, Christie jabs. AJ Hogarth starts leaning this way, and Christie goes left and flows in to a really pretty looking shot. On this possession, Christie's going to try to refuse again. However, we're once again reminded of his lack of touch when it comes to shooting. He refuses right here, gets into space, tries to play off of two, which I like, but he doesn't fully get there. And then the touch just isn't there, and his finishing around the rim is honestly pretty poor. On this next possession, we're going to see Cam Christie settle, which is another issue within his game. Christie calls for the screen right here, and I would like to see him attack number 33 a little bit more. If Christie took another dribble, or if he were to choose to actually snake against the drop coverage, he could potentially force 33 to make a decision and commit to him, which would then lead the roll man to get open. Or he could get by 33 and call someone like, let's say he snakes, Boo Booey has to come in, and then the kick to the corner is open. So there's a lot he could do. But what I don't like seeing here is taking the long two, which is the most inefficient shot in basketball. Now let's move on and watch Cam Christie in dribble handoff situations, which is an area where he truly thrives. In this possession, Cam Christie initially starts downhill in the corner, but he moves in and flows to a nice three. While there's nothing uniquely special about that, his quick release and ability to come off of a dribble handoff and shoot off movement is very impressive. On this possession, Cam Christie once again comes up and gets a nice three. What I like to see here is he had the option to either come off of this screen right here or come off the DHO, and he does a really nice job making the right read and getting a three. This possession, once again, more the same from Cam Christie. These plays look simple, but they're very tough to do, and it is extremely impressive. Right here, in more of a transition situation, number 0 on Minnesota is going to dribble and pitch the ball right back to him for a really smooth looking three. His shot is honestly just pretty to watch. On this possession, Christie's a little loose with the handball a little bit early. However, he comes in, gets a nice dribble handoff, and then has an awkward finish, but I like the straight line drive. This dribble handoff would actually be called a DAO for those of you who don't know, because the man dribbles up front and he dribbles out of the post to hand it off. That's what Boris Diaw used to do. Once again though, I like the idea to have a straight line drive, but he's just awkward and struggles to finish through contact. Maybe you could potentially jump stop and kick to the corner here because this pass is open, but I would like to see him just deal with scoring through physicality a little bit more. This possession, once again, is going to be a little bit more of the same from Christie, where he struggles to deal with physicality. He comes off a dribble handoff here, drives in, and completely loses the basketball. Now let's watch Cam Christie in more spot-up situations. On this possession, Cam Christie moves to the corner, has a quick release, and knocks down a three. There's nothing really special about this play, but I like seeing how he navigates, knows where he's supposed to go, and is ready to shoot. Simple, but effective, and sometimes that's all you need, especially when you're 6'6". On this possession, Christie's in the corner, going against Iowa. He's constantly moving, and then he drifts to the corner as the drive occurs. What I love to see here is he knows that by moving down to the corner, he's going to make himself open for this guard to kick, and it's really pretty to look at. Another big part of one spot-up game is their ability to attack closeouts. For Christie, he's going to need to work on that. On this possession right here, Christie actually does a really nice job ripping through and having a good straight line drive. He loads his feet, blows by, gets lucky that number 3 slips, and it's really good. Unfortunately, more of his possessions when it comes to attacking closeouts look like this. Right here, I honestly think if Christie was ready to shoot, this could be a 3 or an immediate rip through to get to the rim. Instead, I don't know why, but he chooses to jab left, let the defense get set, and take a contested mid-range. Horrible shot. His shot selection really leaves a lot to be desired, and I'd like for him to work on that in order to succeed in the pros. Right here, once again, it's a slow decision-making process. Christie gets the ball off a dribble handoff right here, with this man coming out ready, expecting him to shoot and trying to force him to put the ball on the floor. Ideally, if Christie were to drive in hard and aggressive here, he would have a wide open kick to number 0. Instead, he says, okay, I'm going to take the least efficient shot in basketball. You hate to see it. This settling also frequently occurs in off-screen situations, whereas right here, Cam Christie is going to come off of a down screen, rip through, and once again, just a bad decision. Just because you get the ball and the play is designed for you to score doesn't mean that you have to. On this possession, it's more of the same with Christie. He comes off of these 2 screens right here and attempts to drive, which I like. However, the second Christie really has to deal with any kind of contact, he struggles and he turns it over, or maybe that counts as a shot. Either way, it's pretty bad. Now let's move on and watch Christie in isolation. On this possession, Christie's going to catch the ball, rip through, and have a nice 2-foot finish. Something that he shows flashes of, but he doesn't do a lot. Unfortunately, he doesn't necessarily get by his man in isolation situations. Right here, you see he's uncomfortable with the pressure, and he really struggles to get by. However, he gets kind of bailed, but he's able to use his wingspan and size to get up a nice floater. Unfortunately, size is not always going to bail you out. On this possession, he's going against his man, decides to get downhill. However, he just isn't able to create that separation. Christie really is not a next level athlete, and it shows on this drive right here. Now let's move on and talk about Cam Christie on the defensive end. The first defensive strength that he has is pretty solid driving line defense. While it's not elite, I do think it's above average, and his length really benefits that. The next strength that he has is he does a really good job of remaining vertical and playing defense and contesting without fouling. Shockingly, despite him being really skinny and not the strongest, he only gives up 0.632 points per possession in post possessions, and a big reason behind that is how he's able to stay vertical defensively. Finally, he has a really good length and wingspan, which makes him an interesting project for a team to develop more on the defensive end. While Christie has his strengths, there are some pretty big weaknesses to his game on the defensive end. The first of which is he's a pretty inconsistent off-ball defender. Sometimes he's really smart and in the gaps and in the right spot, however there are other times where he simply looks lost out there. Next, his screen navigation is extremely poor, and he gets clipped a lot when he tries to fight through ball screens. Finally, he is definitely below average in closeouts despite having good length. I think that he could potentially become a pretty good closeout defender. However, at the moment, he's definitely not there. Now, let's watch Cam Christie's film defensively. On this possession, Christie switches onto the guard with the ball. He does a good job sliding his feet and remaining active. Really good defense so far. This next screen occurs, and Christie fights with active hands. Just a really good high motor possession from Cam Christie. On this possession, it's going to be more of the same, just good driving line defense. Christie's man gets the ball, and Christie showcases solid footwork, sliding his feet, staying in front of him, and guarding without fouling. While the shot goes in, I liked his defense. On this possession, we're going to see once again more of Cam Christie's defense. He slides and then does a pretty decent job trying to remain vertical. Well, I know he was not 100% vertical. I like the attempt there, and it shows good fight. On this next possession, Christie's length is going to play a big factor in his driving line defense. His wingspan is a big reason why scouts think that he can develop into being a premier defender. Right here, he slides his feet and initially gets bumped. However, because his arms are so long, he gets a really good contest. On this possession, it showcases why Cam Christie still has some stuff to work on the defensive end driving line wise, as he's a bit jumpy and frequently falls for pump fakes. Now let's move on and watch Cam Christie in pick and roll situations. Right here, Christie is guarding AJ Hogard of Michigan State, and the screen, he just doesn't take the best path. Ideally, what you want to do when you're trying to fight through a screen is get into your man and almost push him out through the screen. Christie takes a bad path and is clipped, and then just look how he's playing after he's clipped. He's not really guarding anything, and he's just kind of standing straight up and is out of the play. On this possession, it's once again going to be more of the same as Christie gets clipped in pick and rolls. This screen occurs at the top of the key. Christie gets bumped and is just completely thrown off balance. Look at this arm movement the second he's clipped. It looked like he was swimming, just really awkward, and showcases a lack of muscle. On this possession, it's more poor screen navigation. Christie is trying to go through, however, he takes a bad path and his man is able to get in. Ideally, once again, you want to see Christie get into his man and fight through the ball screen. On this possession, we see a good clip of Cam Christie. He fights through, competes, and navigates with active hands. It lets you know that it can be done. Another thing that Christie's able to do is he is pretty switchable because of his length. So right here, he's actually going to switch onto a big, and his length causes a contest. Ideally, I would like this switch to occur immediately. If you're going to switch, have Christie stay on this man, because his man's still able to get a somewhat open shot. However, his length does bother him. Now let's watch Cam Christie compete in the post. On this possession, Cam Christie is going to make it really hard for this entry pass to be thrown. Look at how he's almost lining up like a cornerback right here. The pass is caught a lot higher than where Northwestern initially wanted it to, and Christie follows this up with good fight and absorbing contact. While the man gets a little open, Christie being willing to body up and put his chest on the line is great to see. In this possession, it's more of the same as Christie gets back down, but he remains vertical and uses his long wingspan to get a block. Right here, Christie's willing to compete even though his team is down 21. Nebraska's once again trying to post up. Christie's fighting. He gets initially beat on the spin, yet he absorbs contact, forcing the miss. On this possession, we're going to see a flash of what Christie could do off ball. However, it's not frequently the case. Right here, Christie is going to initially fake like he is more focused on Kel'el Ware of Indiana rather than his man, who's right here. The Indiana player reads this, thinks Christie's taking the step to commit to Ware, and then tries to throw this skip pass. However, Christie's looking at the ball and then has a nice job using his length to get a steal. Really good stuff. However, Christie is honestly not the best off-ball defender. On this possession, it is Christie's job to be the MIG, which is to be in this area so he can catch Michael Cooper rolling to the paint. The reason he has to do this is because number 0 is going to be late getting back to the guard, because number 0 has to get to AJ Hogard, and then this guy has to get back. Christie's late, and he inevitably gets there. However, he should have already been there. So all of his momentum is pulling him this way when Hogard picks up the ball, which allows Hogard to make this pass, and it's night-night. In this possession, it's going to be honestly more embarrassing for Christie. I honestly don't know what he was looking at. His man is actively cutting to the corner, and Christie has no clue what's going on. I don't know if he saw a girl in the crowd. I don't know what we're doing. Just bad defense, and he gets completely beat on the play. This is something that happens far too often for a potential NBA prospect. Another issue for Christie is his closeouts, where his footwork could be much better. Right here, Christie is just kind of sinking in deep, maybe potentially looking to help, but I don't think he necessarily has to. And then when the ball is thrown out, just horrible footwork from Christie, and he gets simply blown by. Right here, it's going to be more of the same, and Christie's closeouts leave a lot to be desired. He flies by, and gets lucky that his teammate saves him. Overall, there's still a lot that Cam Christie has to work on. I think the first of which would be adding more muscle and just being able to finish closer near the rim. However, because of his length and shooting ability, I think he's still going to be selected by a team in the second round. Being 6'6" and having a really quick release is very exciting to teams, especially when you consider that when he gets drafted, he won't even be 19 years old yet. That's really exciting because it's going to allow a team to put him in the G League for 1 to 2 years and allow him to develop the skills that we talked about earlier. Another thing with Christie that I really love to see is that he has a high motor defensively, while sometimes he's kind of not aware off ball. I loved seeing those possessions where he competed in the post, and it lets me know that he's going to be a player that's willing to put in the work to succeed. When looking at what Cam Christie can develop and become into, I honestly think a great comp is his brother Max. I could see Christie in a best case scenario being a 3-and-D guy that comes off the bench and competes. I think Christie's most likely outcome would be this. Maybe his best case becomes one where he is able to do a little bit more shot creation for himself and becomes more of a 6th or 7th guy or fringe starter rather than the 8th or 9th guy that I think is his more likely career outlook. But I don't think he's ever going to have that like star upside potential. I think his floor is he's never able to develop any kind of attacking closeout ability or rim finishing. And I also think he could potentially struggle having to go against some of the quicker guards because while his driving line defense was solid, it wasn't great. And so I think if that floor hits, he might be a two-way guy that only has like 1 or 2 years in the NBA. Overall, I like Christie as a prospect, and I think a team could draft him anywhere between like the late 30s, say like 37, 38, but I could also see him falling as low as like 52, around that range. That's a big range, but the second round always becomes a big range. From everything that I've read online, it seems that Christie has had a really solid combine and has done especially well in private shooting workouts and drills, which is really exciting, which is why he's moved up relatively high on boards recently. It'll be really intriguing to see what happens with Christie come draft night, and I hope that he has a successful career. Thank all of y'all for watching, and come back tomorrow for another episode of The Rim Review.